They felt no pain. They feared nothing. They fought like wild beasts. Imagine facing a warrior so consumed by rage that swords barely slowed him down. He charges, howling like an animal, eyes burning with madness, cutting through enemies like they were nothing. These were the berserkers, the Viking shock troops who became legends. Who were they? How did they fight? And what terrifying secrets made them unstoppable? This is their story. The berserkers were the elite warriors of the Vikings, feared across Europe for their unmatched ferocity. Their name likely comes from Old Norse, ber, bear, and serka, shirt, meaning bare-shirted, as they wore animal pelts. Others believe it means berserk, because they fought without armor, relying on sheer strength and speed. But what made them truly terrifying was Berserkgang, their legendary battle rage. They howled like wolves, bit their shields, and fought with uncontrollable fury. Some believe they took hallucinogenic mushrooms, Amanita muscaria, to enter their trance-like state. Others think it was extreme mental conditioning. Their adrenaline surged, making them immune to pain, fear, and hesitation. Becoming a berserker was brutal. They trained in isolation, surviving in the wild to harden their bodies and minds. They believed in becoming one with their totem animal, usually a bear or wolf, learning to fight with raw, primal instinct. Some were chosen from birth, raised in extreme conditions to eliminate weakness. On the battlefield, berserkers changed history. At the Battle of Stamford Bridge, 1066, a single berserker held off an entire Saxon army on a narrow bridge, cutting down dozens before finally being overwhelmed. During raids across Europe, they led Viking attacks from England to Russia, spreading terror wherever they went. Kings and warlords hired berserkers as their most trusted warriors, knowing they would fight to the death. But their reign didn't last forever. As Christianity spread, their wild pagan ways were condemned. More disciplined armies made their chaotic fighting style outdated. Scandinavian rulers banned them, fearing their uncontrollable violence. By the 12th century, berserkers disappeared, but their legend still lives on. Even today, their name is a symbol of ultimate rage and fearlessness. The berserkers weren't just warriors, they were forces of nature. Could you have faced them in battle? Let me know in the comments. Imagine warriors so fierce that they would transform into the embodiment of wolves, their very souls fueled by the primal energy of the wild. These were the Ulfhednar, the feared and mysterious Norse wolf warriors, more savage and secretive than the legendary berserkers. The Ulfhednar were not just ordinary warriors, they were shapeshifters of the mind, warriors who believed their spirits were linked to the wolf. They wore wolf pelts, howling into the night before battle, channeling the spirit of the wolf to fight with an unearthly fury. Unlike the berserkers, who were known for their frenzied bear-like rage, the Ulfhednar's rage was focused and relentless, driven by the animal instincts of the wolf. The Ulfhednar didn't simply fight, they became the wolf. They were known to fight in packs, just like wolves, and were feared for their ruthless tactics. They could strike from the shadows, launching swift, savage attacks and vanishing into the forest, as if they were part of the wilderness itself. This made them terrifying opponents, as no one knew when or where they would strike next. Training for the Ulfhednar was brutal and demanding. Young warriors were taught not only to fight, but to embrace the spirit of the wolf. They underwent harsh physical and mental conditioning, learning to control their rage and use it as a weapon. They trained in stealth, strategy, and survival, ensuring they could move through any terrain with the same fluidity and precision as a wolf hunting its prey. One of their greatest feats was their involvement in the Viking raids, where their wolf-like tactics terrified both Christian kingdoms and other Viking clans. They would infiltrate enemy ranks, waiting for the perfect moment to strike, often leaving only death and fear in their wake. Their presence in battle was said to be enough to make even the bravest men tremble. But the Ulfhednar weren't just warriors, they were a brotherhood, bound by a code of loyalty and respect. Their bond was formed in the fires of battle, where each warrior trusted the other with their life. This sense of unity made them unstoppable, and their reputation spread far and wide across the Viking world. As time passed, the Ulfhednar slowly faded from history, but their legend lives on. They weren't just warriors, they were Rome's worst nightmare. The Cherusci, fierce Germanic tribesmen delivered one of the most devastating defeats in Roman history. In the heart of the Teutoburg forest, they wiped out entire Roman legions, proving that even the mighty Roman Empire could fall to the untamed wilds of the north. The Cherusci tribe lived in what is now northern Germany, and unlike the disciplined Romans, they fought with raw, primal ferocity. Raised in the wild, their warriors were trained from childhood to hunt, fight, and survive. They didn't rely on heavy armor like the Romans, but used speed, ambush tactics, and their intimate knowledge of the dense forests they called home. In 9 CE, the Romans, under General Varus, marched into the forests of Germania, unaware of the threat awaiting them. Arminius, a Cherusci prince raised as a Roman soldier, knew the Romans' tactics and used this knowledge to devastating effect. He lured 3 Roman legions, over 20,000 soldiers, into the Teutoburg forest and surrounded them, cutting off all escape routes. For 3 days, the Cherusci slaughtered the Romans in a brutal ambush. The Teutoburg massacre shattered the Roman army and halted their plans to conquer Germania. The Cherusci fought with speed and deception, using hit-and-run tactics and guerrilla warfare. Armed with long spears, massive two-handed swords, and throwing axes, they easily pierced Roman armor. Their ability to disappear into the forests made them terrifying opponents, striking fear into the heart of the Roman Empire. After their victory, Rome never attempted to conquer Germania again, building fortifications along the Rhine River to defend their empire. Arminius, once a hero, was betrayed and assassinated by his own people, leading to the decline of the Cherusci as a powerful force. The Cherusci proved that no empire is invincible. Their victory over Rome changed the course of history, showing that the wild, untamed north could resist even the might of the Roman legions. They were not wild, disorganized barbarians. The Chatti were something far more dangerous, disciplined, patient, and brutal. In a world where most Germanic tribes relied on chaotic charges and scattered ambushes, the Chatti fought with iron discipline, standing in tight formations that even the Romans feared. The Chatti came from the dense forests and rugged hills of what is now central Germany. Their society was built on loyalty and honor, with one chilling tradition. Young men would not cut their hair or shave their beards until they had taken the life of an enemy in battle. These warriors wore their uncut hair as a visible reminder of their duty, every strand a vow of blood. Their weapons were chosen for endurance and strength in prolonged battle. The Chatti fought with long spears, used for both thrusting and throwing, massive oval shields with reinforced iron rims, and brutal two-handed swords designed to crush through armor and bone. In close combat, they wielded heavy axes, capable of shattering Roman shields with a single blow. Their warriors trained to hold formation, shield locked to shield, pressing forward with relentless force, a wall of wood and iron. Unlike most Germanic tribes, the Chatti didn't just fight from the shadows. They dared to face Rome's legions in open battle. In 9 CE, they stood alongside Arminius in the infamous Teutoburg forest ambush, where 3 entire Roman legions, over 20,000 soldiers, were slaughtered. But even beyond ambushes, the Chatti were known for crossing Roman borders, raiding deep into imperial territory, and escaping before the Roman armies could respond. The Romans feared them enough to launch repeated punitive campaigns. Emperor Domitian himself led legions against the Chatti, but time and again, Roman forces struggled to defeat these iron-disciplined warriors in their homeland's unforgiving terrain. The Chatti's ability to melt into the forests and then regroup in disciplined formations was unmatched. One little-known tale tells of a Chatti raid so bold, it nearly captured the Roman governor Curtius Rufus. His panicked retreat became an embarrassment recorded in Roman military history. The Chatti were not content with defense. They took the fight directly to Rome's door. Eventually, history caught up with them. By the 3rd century, the Chatti became part of the Frankish Confederation. But their influence lived on. Their disciplined infantry tactics would inspire later medieval warfare in the region. The Chatti were more than just a tribe. They were warriors who combined barbarian fury with military discipline, a force so dangerous that even the might of Rome could not easily break them. Imagine towering warriors with battle-scarred faces, gripping massive two-handed axes, standing guard over the most powerful ruler of the medieval world. These were no ordinary soldiers. They were the Varangian Guard, ruthless, fearless, and utterly loyal. Viking mercenaries turned imperial bodyguards, sworn to defend the Byzantine emperor with their lives. And when they entered battle, entire armies trembled. This is the untold story of the most elite warriors of the Middle Ages. In the 10th century, the Byzantine Empire was the wealthiest and most sophisticated power in the world, but it had a problem: constant betrayals, political assassinations, and weak leadership. In 988 AD, Emperor Basil II officially created the Varangian Guard, an elite force of foreign-born warriors, mostly from Norway, Sweden, Denmark, and later Anglo-Saxon England. Varangians relied on brutal aggression, charging into battle with relentless force. Byzantine generals used them as shock troops, sending them into the bloodiest fights where others would falter. And when a battle ended, they had the exclusive right to loot the imperial treasury, a reward so great that Viking warriors risked everything just for a chance to join their ranks. The Varangian Guard saw combat all over the empire, from Italy to the Middle East, but their greatest test came in 1204, during the Fourth Crusade. The Crusaders, supposedly allies of Byzantium, turned on the empire and laid siege to Constantinople. The Varangians were outnumbered and abandoned, but they fought like demons, wielding their axes with unstoppable fury. Even as the city walls crumbled, they held their ground, cutting down wave after wave of crusaders. But in the end, even they couldn't stop the fall of Constantinople. The city was sacked, the empire shattered, and the Varangian Guard faded into history. Yet their legend never died. The Varangians swore an oath of absolute loyalty. They would rather die than betray the emperor. They fought with terrifying brutality, using axes that could cleave through men in a single blow. They were some of the richest warriors in history, given access to imperial gold and treasure. They never ran from battle. They fought to the last man, even when facing impossible odds. The Varangian Guard wasn't just an elite unit. They were a symbol of power, fear, and loyalty. Viking warriors who became the protectors of the greatest empire in the world, fighting in the name of gold, glory, and honor. Their story is one of the most brutal and fascinating in history. If you found this story epic, hit that subscribe button, share this video, and let us know which warriors you'd like us to cover next.